Tonight on NewsWatch, Moms, America, and the race for the White House. A Democrat strategist criticizes Ann Romney for being a stay-at-home mom.
Plus, devastating debt. Why a top Republican says America is ignoring the huge crisis that everyone knows is coming.
And bridging the racial divide. How pastors are working to bring healing in the wake of the Trayvon Martin shooting. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch.
A verbal attack on Ann Romney adds fresh fuel to the gender debate in the race for the White House. Good evening, I'm Lori Johnson.
And I'm Lee Webb. Recent polls show that women voters tend to favor President Obama over Republican candidate Mitt Romney. But a smear against Romney's wife by a Democratic consultant has now put the White House on the defensive with women. John Waggy explains.
The controversy began with Democratic consultant Hillary Rosen's comment to Anderson Cooper on CNN.
What you have is Mitt Romney running around the country saying, well, you know, my wife tells me that what women really care about are economic issues. And when I listen to my wife, that's what I'm hearing. Guess what? His wife has actually never worked a day in her life.
Mrs. Romney responded with her first ever tweet, writing, "I made a choice to stay home and raise 5 boys. Believe me, it was hard work." The Romney son, Josh, also weighed in on Twitter. Ann Romney is one of the smartest, hardest working women I know. Could have done anything with her life, chose to raise me. Rosen fired back with her own tweet. I am raising children too, but most young American women have to both earn a living and raise children. You know that, don't you? Part of the problem for the Democrats is that Ann Romney has been sure-footed during the primary campaign and is perceived to have helped her husband virtually clinch the GOP nomination.
What is the legacy we're going to leave our children and my grandchildren? I am hearing this from women everywhere. They are concerned about the economy.
The White House criticized Rosen's remarks about Romney, and White House strategist David Axelrod called her comments inappropriate and offensive. That may have prompted Rosen to apologize Thursday afternoon. According to White House logs, she's visited there 35 times since the president took office. Polls show a gender gap favors the Democrats among women, as it has in many recent elections. Some Democrats are concerned that the latest flap could generate a backlash, especially as a new potential First Lady moves toward the center of the public stage. John Waggy, CBN News.
And joining us now with more is Lynn Marie Combe, a family law professor at Regent University. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
So what do all the events of today tell you about how the left views not only motherhood, but stay-at-home moms?
Well, first let me say Ann Romney for president. Really, she is fantastic, and they know it. And they're intimidated by that. That is scary to them. What this says about the left and motherhood is that our culture does not understand the value of family, especially liberal culture. They don't understand the value of women or the value of the economy. Our culture is made up of the future, which is families, and women direct that future. So it's totally a miscue. They just don't understand how important women are and how important Ann Romney is to this debate.
Well, Hillary Rosen is now trying to make this a class issue, saying that the only reason Ann Romney was staying at home is because she could afford it, and stay-at-home moms are wealthy, and working women have to work. And do you find this to be true?
No, I feel like that misses the entire substance. Women have multiple callings. As a wife, as a mother, on a mission, whatever your career is. And what Hillary was missing was the whole point that was Ann's mission, raising her family, being a wife to her husband. And the other side of this coin is you can only do it if you have a wonderful husband. And right now we have kind of a war on women, a war on marriage, and a war on families, and it's coming out in this debate.
Do you find that there are some stay-at-home moms who actually sacrifice a luxurious lifestyle so that they can stay home with their children? Military wives come to mind.
Yes, I think, to be really honest, I think women sacrifice completely to be a mother and to be a wife. But that's because that's our objective. We understand that our value with our family is so paramount. We also understand how that affects the culture, how the future. Our kids are our future. This debate shows me that they don't understand that this is about economic decisions women have to make on a daily basis. How are my kids going to be educated? How am I responsible for that? I mean, I homeschooled our 2 kids with my husband. You can't do that without a great husband. You can't do that without an understanding of the economy. You can't do that without an understanding of how important parenting is. Ann Romney gets all of that. And, you know, poor Hillary, she's backing up now with her apology because she realizes this is the substance of the debate. This is a war on women in November.
Well, this is probably going to be a continuing theme throughout the campaign, and we so appreciate your insight. Lynn Marie Combe with Regent University, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
A Eureka, California Planned Parenthood chapter launches a prayer campaign in support of abortion. They call it 40 Days of Prayer, supporting women everywhere. Organizers say the event is, quote, in celebration of women and reproductive rights. Others, though, are speaking out against the campaign. The Liberty Council says Planned Parenthood's prayer campaign is offensive. As much as they might not like the comparison, Planned Parenthood today is no different than the eugenics promoted by its founder, Margaret Sanger, who advocated the elimination of undesirables, just like the most famous eugenicist, Adolf Hitler. The campaign lists 40 different prayers for those involved in an abortion, the mothers, their escorts, and the doctor performing the procedure. It does not, however, include a prayer for the unborn baby.
The Arizona legislature passes a bill banning late-term abortions. The measure prevents women from getting the procedure after 20 weeks of pregnancy, except for cases of medical emergency. The bill also requires the state to maintain a website describing fetuses at different stages of pregnancy and presenting women with alternatives to abortions. The bill now heads to Republican Jan Brewer for signing.
The U.S. is headed for the most predictable economic crisis in our history. That's the dire warning from Congressman Paul Ryan, and he's trying to prevent that crisis from happening. Ryan has a plan to bring the federal deficit under control, and David Brody talked with him about his plan and America's future.
Paul Ryan looks like just a regular guy, but make no mistake, this congressman from Wisconsin doubles as the House Budget Chairman and is the man on the Republican front lines when it comes to solving America's debt crisis.
We're borrowing 40 cents of every dollar our government spends today. We already know our children are going to have a diminished future if we stay in the current path.
Ryan is consumed by numbers. He lives and breathes them, and he's come up with a budget that takes serious steps to rein in a $16 trillion national debt, and it's growing by the day. He's been preaching about this impending disaster for years.
Let me ask you a question. What if your president, your senator, and your congressman knew it was coming?
His plan wouldn't cut defense spending, but everything else in the budget would be trimmed by roughly 20%. While his budget passed the Republican House, it's dead on arrival in the Senate because Democrats say it would take away benefits from low-income Americans.
The liberals will say that about 60% of the budget cuts that you're proposing are going to hit low-income Americans. What's the response?
Well, I would say, first of all, we need to fix our social safety net. And spending still continues under our budget on Medicaid and these other programs. They just don't grow at the crazy pace that the president's proposing because those become unsustainable.
Ryan wants to partially privatize Medicare to save the system, but liberal groups say that will hurt seniors. So they have run campaign ads showing Republicans throwing grandma off a cliff.
I thought you'd be late to this interview because you'd be busy throwing Granny off the cliff. But you showed up on time. I mean, what is the deal with the stereotypes that are out there? I mean, you haven't thrown Granny off the cliff anytime recently, have you?
No, we're used to this from the president. Unfortunately, the president doesn't like to offer solutions. He likes to offer attacks. He likes to distort and demagogue, and it's really beneath him, I think.
President Obama's budget plan didn't receive one single Republican or Democratic vote in the House. So instead, the president has taken direct aim at Ryan's plan, calling it social Darwinism. Then he trots out the impending doom scenario.
If this budget becomes law and the cuts were applied evenly, starting in 2014, over 200,000 children would lose their chance to get an early education in the Head Start program. 2 million mothers and young children would be cut from a program that gives them access to healthy food.
This is where faith comes into the equation. Liberal churches generally see the government as a vital way to help people in need. But Paul Ryan's Catholic faith teaches him that less government is the way to go.
To me, the principle of subsidiarity, which is really federalism, meaning government closest to the people governs best. Having a civil society of the principle of solidarity where we, through our civic organizations, through our churches, through our charities, through all of our different groups where we interact with people as a community, that's how we advance the common good, by not having big government crowd out civil society, but by having enough space in our communities so that we can interact with each other and take care of people who are down and out in our communities.
Ultimately, the real question is, will anything ever really change in Washington? The debt is huge, but so is the political risk when taking tough votes to rein in spending.
The political will by these politicians, I mean, do they have the political will to get some of the serious deficit reduction done?
Look, what we're experiencing in America, in Wisconsin, are decades of politicians making lots of empty promises to voters. And those empty promises are going to quickly become broken promises if we have a debt crisis. What we believe we owe the country is the truth. We're at a very precarious moment in America. Do we want the American idea, that opportunity society with a safety net? Or do we want this cradle-to-grave welfare state, this sort of European social democracy in a debt crisis, a nation in debt, doubt, and decline?
David Brody, CBN News, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
An Argentine baby is being called a miracle after spending 12 hours in the morgue. When the baby girl was born 3 months premature, hospital staff told her parents she showed no signs of life. She was declared dead and her body was taken to a refrigerated hospital morgue. The hospital even issued a death certificate. But the girl's mother insisted on telling her baby one last goodbye. And the father says he and his wife pried open the box that held their baby. It was nailed shut. And when he and his wife uncovered the hands and face, they heard a whimper and their little girl moved. Medical experts say the refrigerated morgue helped keep her alive.
The temperature lowering so quickly actually acted to protect the baby because the brain didn't need as much oxygen.
But her parents believe another factor came into play. They've named their girl Luz Milagros, which means miracle light. She's now in intensive care, but doctors say she's gaining weight and her condition is good.
Wow. Coming up, racial accusations in the Trayvon Martin shooting case. Why pastors say the church is the answer when it comes to racial reconciliation.
The amazing Chef Basket is the kitchen product of the year. Your food cooks right in the Chef Basket. And even in rapidly boiling water, the specially designed handles remain totally cool to the touch. Amazing! Then just grab the handles and your food goes right from the pot to the plate.
I deep fry my chicken wings at home just like they do in the restaurants. I can cook them and drain them right in the Chef Basket. It's the best.
When I first tried it, I was a little afraid to touch the handles, but I was amazed. The handles actually do stay cool.
The Chef Basket does it all, from draining to straining, to cooking to steaming, even deep frying, and much, much more. One of the most versatile kitchen items ever. It's 12 tools in one.
It's the best way ever to make perfect hard-boiled eggs. The trick, it's shocking them in ice water right away. This is the one time it's actually okay to put all your eggs in one basket.
There's so much you can do with this. I just cooked a one-dish meal of shrimp, broccoli, and pasta, all in one Chef Basket. It used to take me 3 pots to cook this dish.
For just $10, I figured I'd give it a try. Let me tell you, it's the one kitchen item I can honestly say I use every single day. I love this thing.
Best of all, it folds flat for easy storage anywhere. The Chef Basket, a tremendous value at just $10. But call right now and you can double the offer. You'll get 2 amazing Chef Baskets. Plus, we'll send you one-dish meals in minutes for fabulous, easy Chef Basket recipes. But wait, we'll also send you RoboStir. Just hit the button and it stirs all by itself. Use it for soups, stews, gravy, beans, sauce, you name it. RoboStir covers every inch of the pan like magic. It's like having a third hand in the kitchen. Call or log on now. You get all this for an incredible $10. Plus, order now and find out about free shipping.
Call 1-800-572-5996 and get your Chef Basket. But hurry, we're giving away a special offer on a second Chef Basket and a RoboStir with all orders today. So call 1-800-572-5996 and find out about free shipping. That's 1-800-572-5996. Call now.
Suspect George Zimmerman faced his first court hearing today in the Trayvon Martin murder case. Zimmerman's attorney entered a not guilty plea. Prosecutors must prove that Zimmerman intentionally went after 17-year-old Trayvon Martin instead of killing him in self-defense. Martin's mother, Sabrina, was on the Today Show this morning and made a surprising statement about the shooting.
I believe it was an accident. I believe that it just got out of control and he couldn't turn the clock back.
Sabrina Fulton later retracted her statement. She does not believe now that it was an accident. She now says Zimmerman killed Trayvon in cold blood. An arraignment is set for May 29th.
Bishop Harry Jackson joins us now from Lake Mary, Florida, that's right next to Sanford. He's the head of the International Communion of Evangelical Churches, a racially diverse group of more than 1,200 congregations worldwide. Bishop Jackson, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Lori, for having us. I believe this is a historic moment for the body of Christ.
Well, what exactly are you doing in Sanford, Florida today?
Well, in about an hour and a half, we are going to have a meeting with some leaders from Sanford proper, black church leaders. And then a few hours after that, we'll meet with leaders from all over Sanford and the greater Orlando area. Hopefully, there's going to be an opportunity for there to be a fresh start, not only for Florida, but for the rest of the nation.
Well, we've come a long way, certainly, but this Trayvon Martin case has really exposed some deep racial divisions that still exist in America today. So what role can the church play in this situation?
We can cure the segregation on Sunday morning problem if churches begin to evangelize across racial boundaries right now. It's time for us to begin to work more together. And so there are things on this order that we're going to discuss, come to some consensus, and then initiate a process of racial healing that hopefully will be a model for the nation.
Well, Sanford, Florida is the epicenter of the whole Trayvon Martin case, obviously, and people from all over the country have their eyes on Sanford. What are the churches in Sanford doing to respond to this situation the last 6 weeks or so?
This Easter Sunday morning, they had this huge racially integrated worship service. And so many things of this nature are coming together and a lot of prayers. So we want to take it a little step further with more of these tributaries of unity and racial harmony beginning to spill out all across this region.
With the pastors meeting with city leaders, what do you hope to accomplish there?
The church's biggest job is to use its considerable influence, both in high places and in the earthly realms, to bring forth peace. You would say that we are on a collision course, especially in the South, for greater problems if we don't address these things systemically.
So you're speaking to the Sanford church leaders today. How many churches are there in that area? And what's your main message to the church leaders?
Every major player will be at this 50, 60 person meeting that will happen in just a couple hours. And so what we hope to do is get the hidden grievances out on the table. And I believe that there are things that are going to come out today, some of which we will not be able to talk about. They'll be behind closed doors. And we hope to have dialogue that we can record and film and other things. And between these two stages, we're going to be on our way. But hopefully that paints the picture for you a little bit more clearly.
Bishop Harry Jackson, thank you so much for joining us from Florida today.
Thank you, Lori. Thanks, CBN.
Bishop Jackson had much more to say about the role of the church in healing racial tensions. You can see the rest of that interview that Lori did with him at cbnnews.com.
Up next, charities on the chopping block. Why one expert says President Obama's tax plans will hit American charities very hard.
If you have diabetes and you're on Medicare, call now for a new pain-free meter. These new meters are more accurate, they're easier to use, and the best news is you don't have to prick your fingers anymore. Call now, and Arriva Medical will send you one of these new meters for free. And if you have Medicare, your testing supplies may also be covered. Arriva makes it simple. They bill Medicare directly. There are no upfront costs. And they deliver your supplies right to your door for free. With these new meters, there's no coding, you don't have to prick your fingers, and some of these meters even talk.
Your blood glucose reading is 122.
And if you call 1-800-284-9762, we will send you a free Betty Crocker Diabetes Cookbook filled with delicious recipes.
Call Arriva today. You'd be glad you did.
John Mapes is 42, mortgage, married, 2 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. John can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $25 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll search the pick of insurers like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. John's wife, Carrie, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or visit SelectQuote.com.
Well, with tax day just around the corner, many Americans have been thinking about taxes. One of the most popular tax breaks is the deduction for charitable donations. But President Obama wants to limit that tax break for wealthier Americans. In fact, he has proposed that in his budget this year. Here with a look at that potential impact for that idea is Rick Dunham. He is the president and CEO of Dunham & Company, which advises charities. Rick, thanks for being with us. Charities have been hit hard by this recession, and you believe the president's proposal would harm charities even more. How big of an impact are we talking about here?
Well, we did a study earlier this year that actually coincided a bit with the Center on Philanthropy out of Indiana University, and our numbers were pretty similar. We think it's about a $5 to $7 billion hit. I think that's a bit understated. I think it will be more than that.
Do you think the president realizes this, and does he care?
The charitable sector hit a peak in 2007 of about $310 billion in charitable contributions. That dropped in the recession at 2009. It went down to $280 billion, so $30 billion hit to charities. It's begun to rebound, and we think 2011 numbers, when they come out, will show probably close to $300 billion again. But the challenge is that the top 3% of households in America provide about 45% of all charitable donations, which is about $100 billion of individual charitable donations. And so it's a pretty significant amount. And what the president's proposing is obviously to let the Bush tax cuts expire. So the tax rate's going to go up to almost 40%, and to cap charitable deductions at 28%. So I can't get the full value of my charitable contribution now. And that's what's really going to hurt.
President Obama argued at the National Prayer Breakfast that Jesus would support his plan to raise taxes on the rich. He based his logic on 2 scriptures, Luke 12:48, which says, "To whom much has been given, much is required," and also Matthew 22:39, which says, "Love thy neighbor as thyself." Rick, my question to you, do you believe the president's interpretation of those verses is correct?
Absolutely not. Obviously, Jesus modeled caring for the poor, the down and out. His ministry, his life was given to that. But I think President Obama has stepped a bit over the line by trying to define the government as my neighbor. Obviously, Jesus in the parable of the Good Samaritan defined somebody as a neighbor who has a need that I can help meet. It's not about taxes. It's about how I help others in need.
Rick, let me ask you what you and others in positions like the one you have are trying to do to convince the administration that this is the wrong course.
Well, we've been working really hard. I'm a part of the Direct Marketing Association Nonprofit Coalition. That group has been lobbying very ardently on the Hill that the charitable tax deduction is unlike any other tax deduction. And what we've done is we've researched across America. We've asked the American population what they think, 3 out of 4 people believe that the charitable tax deduction should not be touched. And I think it's a pretty clear indicator that they believe that charity should be conducted in the private sector, not by the government bureaucracy trying to do the same work.
Well, Rick Dunham, President and CEO of Dunham & Company. Rick, we appreciate you being with us and sharing your insights with us.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
If you have diabetes and you're on Medicare, call now for a new pain-free meter. These new meters are more accurate, they're easier to use, and the best news is you don't have to prick your fingers anymore. Call now, and Arriva Medical will send you one of these new meters for free. And if you have Medicare, your testing supplies may also be covered. Arriva makes it simple. They bill Medicare directly. There are no upfront costs, and they deliver your supplies right to your door for free. With these new meters, there's no coding, you don't have to prick your fingers, and some of these meters even talk.
Your blood glucose reading is 122.
And if you call 1-800-284-9762, we will send you a free Betty Crocker Diabetes Cookbook filled with delicious recipes.
Call Arriva today. You'd be glad you did.
John Mapes is 42. Mortgage, married, 2 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. John can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $25 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll search the pick of insurers like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. John's wife, Carrie, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or visit SelectQuote.com.
You know, sometimes it's the simple comforts of home that keep a soldier going out in the field.
That's why one group of women are putting their talent to good use. The organization is called Quilts of Valor. Volunteers from 18 different states created more than 500 homemade quilts for military men and women. The quilts were given to soldiers at Fort Riley, Kansas.
I'm going to sleep with it. Bring it with me on trips, you know. Just really appreciate it. I mean, something like a quilt that's handmade is something that's made with the heart.
You did your job. You stood in harm's way. You did things that you never thought you would do. And for that, those are things I can't do, and I want to thank you for that.
Each quilt contains a patch with the soldier's name on it and where it was made. What a gift.
It's great. Members of the 1st Infantry Division, better known as the Big Red One. That, you know, a few things represent home more than a quilt.
Homemade quilt.
And a lot of good home cooking. My son, Lee Jr., was on deployment a couple of years ago. We sent him boxes of cheese. The canned cheese, that's what he really loved more than anything.
A taste of home.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Good night.